Filmmakers rarely make great films, but on the rare occasion that they did, rarely did any of them get the recognition they deserve. So in this video, I'll be recommending some filmmakers who, in my opinion, make great films. I'll discuss their works and why they need to be celebrated like other famous great filmmakers. Note that this is part 3, so your favorite filmmakers could be in the videos before. Check it out!
Hi, I'm Kirsten Johnson.
The first director on the list is Kirsten Johnson. Kirsten Johnson is a filmmaker active from the early 2000s till now. Her works are tied to documentary filmmaking. She usually works as a cinematographer, collaborating with famous documentary filmmakers like Michael Moore and Laura Poitras. But occasionally, she directs some documentaries, and they are amazing. Kirsten Johnson's films delve into profound themes such as memory and death, and she does this in a unique way. Her different approach to documentary filmmaking, like minimizing the use of interviews or any sort of narrative and just letting the visual be the main language, pushes the audience to reflect on the complexities of life and engage deeply with the multifaceted way humans experience life. This is especially true in her 2016 film, Camera Person. In it, she weaves together moments from her career as a cinematographer, from conflict zones to tender family moments, to craft a rich tapestry that explores the nuances of human experience. Through the blend of those raw moments and unfiltered emotions, Johnson invites us to ponder upon the role of a documentarian, using the intimate visual style to examine not just the events captured on camera, but how those moments linger in the mind of the person filming. The cinematography is stunning, editing is also successful in capturing life filled with beauty, pain, and everything in between. If you want something a bit simpler, Kirsten Johnson 2020 film Dick Johnson is Dead fits that description and more. In this film, we see her grapple with the impending death of her father, Dick Johnson, by staging imaginative, humorous scenarios of his death. The film is very heart-wrenching, playfully but painfully explores mortality using surreal reenactments and absurdist humor to cope with the painful reality of her father's dementia. Kirsten Johnson's filmmaking style, which is her ability to create vulnerable stories that focus on visual storytelling, is still present. The approach just morphs into a more direct use, instead of the more impressionistic approach in the film before.
All I know is that Dick Johnson is dead.
Alors, le représentant de Dieu, qui s'appelait Djibril, vous savez, Djibril, c'est Gabriel, donc c'est leur messager.
The next director on this list is Djibril Diop Mambéty. He was a Senegalese filmmaker born in 1945. Throughout his career, he only made 2 feature films, and both of them are almost 20 years apart. But despite the time difference, the style of his films stay the same. Visually rich and narratively innovative, Mambéty frequently challenged societal norms and expectations by blending realism with elements of fantasy and surrealism, either from the simple yet powerful editing or the striking imagery of his films. Beyond his filmmaking style, his films also serve critiques of society. They comment on the complexities of people living in a society that has been oppressed, and the identity of people living in a rapidly changing world, clashing between tradition and modernity. This can be seen in Tuki Buki, Mambéty's feature debut. The film told a love story trapped in issues of life. In it, the film addresses profound themes of identity, critiques of Western materialism and the greed it breeds, and underlines the effect of neocolonialism. We can see how Mambéty is influenced by the French New Wave in the editing of the film and the unconventional storyline and the unlikable main character. But it also deviates from its influence, building its own identity by using vibrant visuals to accompany the film, which also highlights the cultural richness of Senegal. Paired with an iconic soundtrack, the film is a deep commentary on the complexities of African identity. The other film I recommend from him is Hyenas, released in 1992. The film is an adaptation of Friedrich Dürrenmatt's play The Visit, but sprinkled with Mambéty's own style. The film tackles themes of wealth, corruption, and societal decay using a blend of tragedy and dark humor through the story of a woman who returns to her poor village with the promise of financial salvation at a steep moral cost. Like his film before, Hyena stands out with its rich visual storytelling. Mambéty uses symbolism in his screen to depict the stark realities of life in Senegal. However, unlike Tukibuki, this film is more somber and realistic, showing maturity as it raises questions about the cost of progress and the sacrifice made in the name of survival.
He made only a handful of films in his very short life. He died at the age of 54. But each one is very special and has its own unique energy.
Accidents happen when you shoot, and accidents are always better.
The next director on this list is Mani Kaul. Mani Kaul was an Indian filmmaker born in 1944. He is associated with the parallel cinema movement in India, which aimed to offer an alternative to the mainstream Bollywood films. His style is unique, close to a more experimental style, in my opinion. Mani Kaul's works are both visually and conceptually distinctive. He likes to use long, meditative takes, minimal dialogue, and a non-linear approach to storytelling, inviting the audience to engage with the film on a deeper, almost philosophical level. His 1973 film, Duvida, is the best example of this. The film is an interpretation of a folktale about a ghost who falls in love with a newlywed bride. In the film, Kaul strips the story of its traditional storytelling and presents it through a minimalist, almost surreal lens, focusing on internal emotions rather than the external drama. His use of still images, unconventional camera angles, and a lack of dramatic sound heightens the film's meditative quality, giving it a dreamlike atmosphere. But beyond its technical style, Duvida delves into themes of identity, desire, and societal expectations. By presenting the supernatural tale in such an abstract manner, Kaul invites viewers to reflect on the constraints placed on individuals by society, particularly women. The ghost's longing for the bride becomes a metaphor for freedom and unfulfilled desire, set against the backdrop of rigid societal customs. Another film from him that I love is The Mind of Clay. This documentary-style film focuses on the lives of potters in India, but it is not a straightforward documentary. Mani Kaul uses the craft of pottery as a metaphor for creation, tradition, and the relationship between humans and the materials they shape. Rather than offering a linear narrative, Kaul abstractly presents the film using fragmented visuals, symbolic images, and voiceover narration to explore broader philosophical questions about art. His meditative pace and abstract visuals make the film a contemplative, almost spiritual experience.
Seu nome, Nelson Pereira dos Santos. Nome.
The last director on this list is Nelson Pereira dos Santos. Nelson Pereira dos Santos was a Brazilian filmmaker active around the mid-1950s to the early 2010s. He is one of the famous filmmakers related to the Cinema Novo movement. Like many films of Cinema Novo, Pereira dos Santos' works are marked by their neo-realist style, using non-professional actors, location shooting, and a focus on societal issues. And this is his main appeal. His way of showing reality is powerful and entrancing, making the viewer fully able to grasp the conditions of what real people went through. His debut 1955 film, Rio 40 Degrees, is a striking example of this. It tells the story of 5 boys from Rio de Janeiro's favelas. Through their journey across the city, the film captures the everyday lives of many people, which shows the contrast between the affluent parts of Rio and the poverty-stricken neighborhoods. As the name of the film suggests, Pereira dos Santos uses Rio's heat as a metaphor for the tension brewing in the country's social fabric, highlighting the sharp divides between the rich and the poor. Another film by Nelson Pereira dos Santos I recommend is Rio Northern Zone, released in 1957. Through the main character, a poor musician struggling to make ends meet, the film highlights the duality of aspirations and disappointments of those living on the margins of society, exploring the intersection of art, poverty, and exploitation. The film's emotional depth is amplified by using a neo-realist style similar to that in Rio 40 Degrees, using Rio's favelas not just as a backdrop but also a central character in the film, embodying both the beauty and the harshness of life in the city's poorest neighborhoods. So that's it. That's the end of the video. If you have your own amazing filmmakers that people probably don't know, drop it in the comment. Also, if you love this video, like this video and check my other videos on this topic. Subscribe to see my other upcoming videos. Thank you everyone.